The sun opposing Neptune. What's it all about? Well, hello there, Enchanted One, and welcome to Spirit Throw Me a Bone, your spiritual lifestyle channel, where every week we come together to cultivate our connection with the Enchanted Universe and coax Spirit to throw us a bone. I'm Brenda Paradiso, and thank you for joining me tonight. So how do we do this? How do we coax Spirit to throw us a bone? Well, first, we create sacred space, and we signal our intention to accept gifts of enchantment from Spirit. Second, we flex our enchantment muscles and consult the oracles of astrology and the tarot. And third, we welcome young self, and with a beginner's mind, we explore all manner of metaphysical and consciousness-raising topics. So let's get started. You know what we do. First thing, we create sacred space. So if you haven't already lit that candle and snuggled up next to your altar, then go ahead and do that now. Or just simply kick back and take a deep breath, because this is your time. This is sacred time. Okay guys, are you ready? Let's create sacred space together. So you know how we do this, right? We're going to use 2 parts intention and 1 part imagination to create a circle, a sacred circle around the physical space that you occupy now, and also a virtual sacred circle to enclose us all here tonight on Spirit Throw Me a Bone in sacred space together. And we're going to go clockwise, calling the directions. In some traditions, it's called the watchtowers. These are energy consciousnesses associated with the 4 elements that hold sentinel around our circle to keep the distracting energies out and the magical and sacred energies in. So let's get started. By the air that is her breath, welcome east. By the fire of her bright spirit, welcome south. By the waters of her living womb, welcome west. And by the earth that is her body, welcome north. As above, so below, we are in sacred space. Well, hello there again, Enchanted One. Thank you for joining me tonight. So, it is September 12th, 2021, and we're going to be talking about the sun opposing Neptune, and we're also going to revisit the tarot card we pulled last week, which was the moon. And we're just going to check in with one another and do what we always do here on Spirit Throw Me a Bone. We're going to talk about A little bit of astrology, a little bit of tarot, and anything else that strikes our fancy, so that we can share our experiences of the Enchanted Universe with one another. Okay, so what do you say we get back to some background music here? And why don't I just do that? Push this button and start where we left off here. Okay. So I worked really hard today testing my comments, and guess what? Yay! I have comments this week. How are you, Miss Kathleen? Thank you for joining me tonight, and Robin's with us too. And it's going to be a good night, guys. It's a good night for all of us, except for maybe one, Novak Djokovic. I understand he lost tonight. He's not going to be getting the Grand Slam, biggest prize in tennis. I'm sad about that, but I don't know. He must not have been jiving with the Sun-Neptune opposition. So, you know what? Let's just go ahead and get into this astrology. What do you think? I'm going to do my little astrology dance here for you guys. Get a little bit psyched. Okay, back to where we were. Okay, after our little astrology dance. Okay, let's talk Sun opposing Neptune. Now, we know the Sun is in Virgo, right? And we know that Neptune is a really slow moving planet. So it's the Sun that's going to be entering the orb and then going past this opposition to Neptune and moving on. And I'm going to show you that. I'm going to put that on the screen in a little bit. But first I just want to talk to you a little bit about the planet Neptune and a little bit about the archetypal symbolism of the planet Neptune. So I have some little graphic kind of thingies for you, just to sort of emphasize the themes that I'm talking about. So Neptune is a lovely planet that was discovered like in the 1850s. So we call Neptune, we consider it to be one of the outer planets. The ancients, of course, didn't use Neptune in their astrology because they had not yet discovered Neptune, because the ancients only could see the planets that were available to them, you know, basically with the naked eye. So in Hellenistic astrology, or what I refer to as ancient astrology, we don't use Neptune, but modern astrology does, and that's the kind of astrology that most people have practiced over the last 100+ years. So Neptune, modern astrologers consider Neptune to be the ruler of the sign of Pisces. The ancient astrologers consider Jupiter to be the ruler of the sign of Pisces. So what did Jupiter and Neptune have in common? Let's start by asking that, because if the ancients believe that Jupiter rules Pisces and the modern astrologers believe that Neptune rules Pisces, well, then they must have something in common, right? Well, they do. Jupiter and both Neptune archetypally address the God principle and the principle of altruism and expansion. Okay, we know that Jupiter makes things big, right? And then, so like, how does Neptune expand? Well, it expands in a different way. It makes things bigger in the sense that it flows outward, and it's like when you're looking at something through a kaleidoscope and the view of what you see becomes like, you know, holographic, and it becomes maybe not quite so clear, but it's just like so big and all encompassing, right? That's sort of like the expansion of Neptune versus the expansion of Jupiter. Um, Neptune expands and changes through through like flow, and whereas Jupiter expands in a more concrete, mundane way. So uh, when you think about the God principle in Jupiter, you think like of belief systems and our ideas that we really hold on to, and fight for, whereas Neptune is the same thing, only it's more transcendental, it's more mystical, it's more otherworldly. And but a very strong Neptunian person can still hold on to their beliefs in such a way that it can be exaggerated, right? um, and very highly idealistic, whereas Jupiter can do the same thing, right? Can hold on to their beliefs. But Sagittarians, many of them are often known to be really very dedicated to their way of thinking and their belief systems. So Neptune and Jupiter have that in common. Only like Neptune's sort of goes at it with more of a less of a clear view of maybe other people's points of view, where Jupiter can see other people's points of view, but the Jupiterian is just more attached more strongly to their own, where Neptune can't even see any other point of view, like nothing else really even exists, right? That's like the idealism that goes along with the Neptune archetype, where Jupiter is more about optimism. Neptune is more about idealism. Okay, so anyway, that's Neptune for you. And um, again, so many people associate Neptune with the sign of Pisces. And, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. And I still think that way because that's how I was trained and learned originally. But so what are the archetypal influences that are positive about Neptune? Well, let's start actually. Let's talk about the shadow side of Neptune. The shadow side of Neptune, what do we know? Can someone give me maybe just one key word for like a negative or a phrase? Not a negative, I don't want to use that word, but the shadow side of Neptune, the less helpful aspect of Neptunian influence. If anybody has any ideas about that, pop that in the comments. So Neptune is the fog, right? Neptune can represent the fog that overtakes us. And so what happens when we're in this fog? Well, we can experience just sort of the, crisis of faith, or not so much a crisis of faith, but just particularly when it's combined with the sun, sort of a crisis of like direction and meaning in one's life, because Neptune just like makes things unclear sometimes, and we can sort of get lost in like this ocean of expectations or idealism that doesn't seem to match our reality, right? And so that can be depressing. So when some people experience these energies of the sun opposing Neptune, the sun being your core identity, who you are, what your mission is in this incarnation, opposed by Neptune, you can lose sight, like you can lose some clarity about, well, what is like my purpose, and really what is it all about, right? So that can be some of the shadow expressions of the Neptune Sun opposition archetype, and it can be kind of hard to deal with. On the other hand, But what we need to be careful of, though, is that with the sun opposing Neptune, or Neptune energies in general, is that we don't lose sight of reality too much so, right? It's like, it's nice to have a dose of idealism and all of that, and have these otherworldly experiences, but we do have to live in them in the realm of matter. So, you know, while fantasy is beautiful and it can keep us going, and in meditation we may find these beautiful places, eventually we have to come back down to earth and function in the realm of matter and in the real world. So, that is one of the risks of being under Neptunian influence, or the Sun Neptune opposition, specifically, is that things just might be too good to be true. So we want to be careful about that as well. So this Sun opposing Neptune, folks, we've been rolling with this since the end of last week. So maybe, I don't know, but maybe you've been feeling some of these energies in your life. I am looking for there you go. So yeah, since like Thursday-ish, definitely, I think it's perfecting tomorrow, meaning that it's reaching the perfect opposition tomorrow. But again, within like 3 or so degrees, we're definitely going to feel it. So, our practical, earthy, service-oriented Virgo Sun has been opposing Neptune and Pisces. So the application then of that is like take, the Virgo energies of service, right, and apply them to some altruistic endeavor. Maybe you have found yourself over the weekend involved in some type of volunteer activity, or just engaging in some type of a selfless activity would be an ideal way to be expressing these energies. Now, maybe, the Sun opposing Neptune has kind of had you a little off kilter this weekend. Maybe you felt more, just maybe even more drained physically, you know, or just down a little bit, or maybe choosing to escape, with that extra glass of wine or whatever it is. That Neptune can invite those type of experiences. Like if we can't sort of tap into the pull and the draw of transcendence in a healthy way. Maybe some of us choose other means to get there. That can be problematic, or maybe just too much of a good thing generally, right? So that is Sun Neptune, guys. So do you want to take a look? Oh, when did we lose audio? Yeah, the comments are coming through. Sorry. I guess maybe, I don't know, when I changed one of the scenes, we lost audio. Jeez Louise. Back now. Okay. It must have been one of these here. Not that one. Sorry about that, guys. So, yeah, well, this one I was just talking about, that the Sun opposing Neptune is not necessarily always about escapism and or being depressed or sad, that there can be some brightness to it as well, and, an idealistic expression of it that can be, that can feel good, and we can experience it as something beautiful. That's what I was talking about when I was muted there. But and again, as with all things, you can overdo it with seeking the beautiful and the transcendent. So like you might see like these mythical images in your meditation. Hopefully, only in your meditations, right? Okay, guys. All right. Well, hey, do you want to take a look at our charts here and see what we're talking about with this Neptune Sun opposition for you? Now, this is, it's not really a long-term transit. It's just like several days, but it's pretty strong, because it's exact, number one, and it involves the Sun, number two. And I just generally wanted to give you a little bit of education and teachings on the planet of Neptune generally, and I thought this was a good time to do that. So, let's look here. There. Cool. Okay. So, these are the transits now, or this is basically a picture of the sky. When did I run this? Just like when I started the countdown timer tonight. So we're basically at the same point. Let me see if I can update it. There we go. Now it's 8:24 exactly, right? So here's Neptune at 21 Pisces, and then here's the Sun at 20. So the Sun will move to 21 tomorrow, and it'll be exact tomorrow, right? So that's what you're looking at. And what's beautiful, Neptune in Pisces, I think, is a beautiful, certainly very Neptunian energy. But Neptune moves very, very, very slowly, guys. Really slowly, being one of the outer planets. So we're really just looking here at the Sun at 20 Virgo. So let's go ahead and advance this a little bit. So we'll see what it looks like for your rising sign, Kathleen, of Taurus. There, we're going to go ahead. There you go. So then that will put the Sun in your 5th house opposing your 11th house, Neptune. So that's just, that's those beautiful Sun, Neptune energies coming into play in terms of your social life over the weekend, Kathleen. So, maybe, you've been involved with others or in a group or some kind of associations that you've had with other folks over the weekend where this Neptune Sun opposition energy is showing up for you. So is there a clear mission in that regard for you in terms of, what you're pursuing, either socially or creatively, 5th house Sun? Or, are you getting all of a sudden kind of confused about it, or are you feeling really idealistic about it? Whatever, maybe you've been doing something fun over the weekend and you're looking forward to doing something fun and creative, pursuing pleasure in some way. That'd be the 5th house Sun, tomorrow into Tuesday. So it would just be interesting to see if you recognize what I was talking about in terms of Sun opposing Neptune, having to do with friendships, creative endeavors, things that you do for pleasure generally, and kids. So, I know that you work with your son on his channel. And, Neptune creates images. Did you know that? So when you think about a planet that rules like photography and that kind of thing, Neptune does. Or video or that type of thing. So perhaps you found yourself over the weekend and maybe early next week very involved in helping with that production, or, helping create something beautiful and ideal, in terms of an image, with your son and his channel, or just maybe with your own photography. I know that you really enjoyed that in the past. I don't know how much of that you're doing these days, but that's just as an example of how you might be seeing Sun Neptune opposition show up for you. So what about us, Robin? Us Libra risings here. Let's advance it. There you go. Okay, so this is a 6/12 house opposition, because here's the Sun, and then Neptune has been in our 6th house for a long time now. So that's very well. Let me just share my experience, okay? So over the weekend, starting sort of the end of last week, and over the weekend, I have to say that I've struggled a bit with, just like maintaining focus and, trying to just get some practical things done. I've really been drawn to just wanting to sort of check out and meditate and maybe have that extra glass of wine. And it's been a little bit difficult for me, I have to say. Um, yeah, I'm thinking about that, and also the Moon Tarot card that we pulled last week, which is similar in my mind archetypally to what I've been talking about with Sun opposing Neptune. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But so, I think for me, the Enchanted Universe, the oracle of astrology, and the Enchanted Universe's message as expressed through this Sun Neptune opposition, I've heard loud and clear, um, as I have also noticed the tarot card, the moon, show up for me this past week. So that's what it's been like for me. I don't know, Robin, if there's anything you wanted to share um, about how Sun Neptune in your 6th and 12th house has been showing up for you. Now, what is 6th and 12th house? Okay, we know the 6th house is health. It's also your work environment, and just generally, people who are of service to you or you being of service to other people. That's 6th house stuff. And then the 12th house is our shadow. And it's also where we go to kind of get away from it all, either by choice or not by choice. The 12th house is associated with institutions like hospitals and prisons, even. So the 12th house then represents kind of where you go to be away from it all. Either, like I said, either by choice or not so by choice. It's also referred to as the house of hidden enemies. So the thing is, with the 12th house, you don't always know what's lurking there. But when these kind of transits come up, it will show you. The universe, the Enchanted Universe will let you know. It'll pull some stuff up from the shadows. So, maybe, there's some things that have come up for you over the weekend, over these last few days, that you've kind of been mulling over in your head and addressing on some level, that maybe you just, and I'm thinking about myself when I'm describing this, maybe just have issues or topics that have been weighing on you somewhat, but, maybe that over these last few days, it's been sort of hard to get away from it, which is why then, we might want to just sort of take a break and check out, either through meditation or other means of just sort of reaching an altered state. So anyway, that is the 6/12 axis and house emphasis for the Sun-Neptune opposition, which really archetypally is very similar. The Sun-Neptune opposition, I find, is very similar archetypally to the 6/12 house axis generally, the meaning of it. The 6th house meaning service and work and toil, and the 12th house being the shadow and, things that require us to give of ourself, really. So the last thing that I want to say about Sun-Neptune opposition, because as all transits, right now out in the sky, the sun is opposing Neptune. It'll be opposing exactly tomorrow. So think about this, guys. If there's a baby born tonight or tomorrow or the next day or even yesterday, these last few days, they were born with sun opposing Neptune. So then that means that those archetypal influences are very present in this child's life as they grow up, obviously, because it's like part of their astrological ecology. Their karmic stamp is sun opposing Neptune, so they are a sun opposing Neptune type person, right? So that's interesting always to think about. Like whenever I see transits like this, I think a kid born today has that signature in their chart, sun opposing Neptune. So how might an individual who natally has sun opposing Neptune, how might they be working with those energies? If they're working with them consciously, and the archetype is showing up in what one would consider a more positive light, then you would see someone who is very dedicated to service, um, likely is, you know, very spiritual, if perhaps religious, but definitely spiritual on some level. Um, you know, maybe they struggled at some point in their life with having a clear sense of identity and purpose, because Neptune can muddle that for an individual connected to the sun. Anything, you know, the sun being your sense of purpose. It's like why you're here this time around, you know, to be your sun. And so if you have Neptune connected with it, that can make things kind of unclear. So the way out of that confusion is to connect with um, the higher expression of the archetype of Neptune, which is selfless service. So these people may be very involved in volunteer works, um, you know, have a real altruistic streak in them. As I said, you know, the archetype of Sun Neptune is descriptive of Christ consciousness, and um, you know, any great spiritual leader who has a mission, you know, to be connected to and help others connect to the divine. So there you have it. That's what I got to say about Sun Neptune. So did you guys have any questions about that? Wanted to share anything about that? If this has been showing up for you guys at all? And how about, could I get another comment just to make sure I haven't lost my comments in the last few minutes? Because that happens. That has been happening. They're looking like they're coming in just fine, but on both Facebook and YouTube. But if I could just get one more comment from one of you guys, I just want to make sure that something hasn't happened like it's happened in past streams where all of a sudden I'm not getting my comments, because that would be a bummer. Right? Okay. Okay. So if anybody has commented recently, I'm not seeing it. And I'm going to go here and check to see on here if I can see them. Okay. Well, Robin, I see yours on my other app. I'm testing from Facebook. And yeah, I think they stopped coming through again, guys. Isn't that annoying? Okay. Wait, did I just lose the stream? No. Wow. Pretty soon, 5 or 6 days a week. Okay, I'm following your chat, guys, on Restream and not on my streaming software, so I can't throw up the comments because the last comment I have is this one. And yeah, I don't know, guys. I really don't get it. But I'm able, I think, to follow your chats here. Because I have this one, Kathleen, pretty soon 5 or 6 days a week. I don't know what that's about, Kathleen. I missed something there. I don't know what that's about, sweetie. Okay, so Kathleen, you were with us last week, right? When we pulled the tarot. And what did we pull? We pulled the moon card. Yes, we did. So, yeah, so last week we pulled for all of us from the Major Arcana, and we pulled the moon card, and we said we were going to have this be our card for the week. And, well, the gambling part was not productive. Oh, did you gamble? Did you gamble this past weekend? That's so funny. I really wish I could put this on the screen. I gotta figure out why. I thought I had it fixed, guys. I thought I had it fixed. I don't know why it's doing that. Huh. Okay. The moon card we pulled last week. And so I just wanted to review a little bit about that. So, what does Barbara Moore say about the moon card? She says, a situation of flux and uncertainty fraught either with deception or the revealing of important truths. Keen Tarot. There's 2 online tarot sites that I like to get interpretations from. One is Keen Tarot and one is Biddy Tarot. And then, you know, Barbara Moore is from Steampunk Tarot. But anyway, Keen says, the moon represents falling out of touch with reality. However, it also represents a chance to better yourself by not agreeing to false assumptions. And then Biddy Tarot says, the moon can represent a time of uncertainty and illusion. When nothing is what it seems, you need to listen to and trust your intuition so you can see beyond what is in front of you. So, do any of these 3... do you connect with any of these 3 as maybe part of your experience over the past week, Kathleen, since we pulled this card? I do. I felt the moon card very much this past week. And then I got a double dose, as I said, with the sun opposing Neptune, I believe. But how about, why don't we pull a card for this week and then we'll wrap things up, guys. So, you know, we do this, we're just going to do it from the majors. And here's the pretty moon card again. So I'm pulling out the majors now. And so this will just be our card for this coming week. And you made a comment, Kathleen, some of the Sun Neptune stuff sounded familiar. Some of the moon stuff sounded familiar. Maybe both, because they're very similar, I think. Funny how that works, right? The oracles sort of mimic one another. 22 major arcana cards in the deck, guys. And I'm pulling them all out. And then I'm going to count them, make sure I got them all. 1, 2. Thank you for joining me tonight, guys. And Robin, especially, is good to see you and have you with us again. I know for a couple weeks you've been otherwise occupied. I hope you and Teresa are both doing well. And I miss you guys. Okay, so I got the majors here. Okay, so yes, Kathleen says moon stuff and Neptune, some of it, yeah. Okay, so think about it, guys. I'm shuffling now the cards, just the majors, and this is going to be our card for this coming week. And just like we did this week, next week we'll revisit it and go over the interpretations again and reflect on how the archetype as revealed in the tarot showed up for us over the past week. Okay? Alright, here we go. I'm going to pull a card. Again, just it's from the majors only. Just kind of moving them around on my desk. Okay, here it is. Okay, guess what card it is? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess? I guess I'm not surprised by it, but in fact, I was thinking about this card earlier today. How all of what we've been talking about tonight really is symbolized by what? This card. The Hanged Man. Right? The Hanged Man. Live and let God. Oh, did I show him to you upside down? Yeah. See him? I'm going to see if I can find him here. And I'll put him up. But yeah, let's see. The Hanged Man. There he is. Oh, that's a blurry picture, but that's him right there. He's hanging upside down, guys. He doesn't look so unhappy though, does he? And he's got like this halo around him, right? So yeah, so I always think of live and let God when I see this card. All the time. It's sort of the card of surrender, or like, you know, the sacred pause, that, you know, the message is to trust in divine timing, and, you know, just connect with the universe in a way that allows you not to be pushing so hard up against it, really. So let's see here. I don't have my phone down here with me, or I'd pull up Steampunk, because, you know, she's my favorite interpreter of the tarot, Barbara Moore. But we can see let's see what Keen Tarot says about the Hangman. Does anybody, any of you guys have thought about that? Hey, Anne. Good to see you there. I'm monitoring comments from my Restream app, so I'm not able to throw them up on the screen. Where did it go? I just saw your... So anyway, hello, Anne. Good to see you. I'm laughing because I saw Robin's comment. Was at the beach. I didn't miss you. I think I'll retire somewhere near the ocean. Well, I can't see the comments like I'm supposed to. I'm reading the comments from a different application, so I can't throw them up on the screen like I can when I can find them on my streaming software, because they were coming in at first and then they stopped. And this I'm going to have to solve. But anyhow, I did learn today that I can monitor my comments on this other application, which is good. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. We were talking, Anne, about the Hanged Man, which is our card for the week. And I am looking up here on Keen Tarot. I can show you this, I think. Hold on. No thanks. I'll put this on the screen for you. Okay. Let me show you here. There. I'll get rid of that. Okay. So this is Keen Tarot. I just pulled it up here on Chrome. So I like what they say here. The hangman has put himself in a position and there is no way he can win, and yet the halo lets us know that he may be about to claim a sizable victory. He was not attacked nor forced to be where he is. Nothing is disheveled besides his hair hanging down simply due to gravity. His bent leg indicates that he's getting quite comfortable being helpless. If the hangman represents you in your reading, you are being advised by the tarot to surrender, to change course, or let the universe solve a situation without your input. If the card instead represents someone in your life, you will be informed about manipulations that may be taking place and the overall strategy of a person with whom you are engaged in a battle. The insidious nature of the hangman card personifying someone else in your reading is that you often do not realize that this person is your enemy. Ooh, the inherent helplessness and seeming victim status of the hangman, as illustrated by the card, is fundamentally a mask about the reality of a situation and the person behind it all. Ooh, you know, I remember this because I was getting this card a lot. I remember that March that I was caretaking my dad. The hangman kept showing up, and then I read somewhere some ancient, not ancient, but one of the earliest interpretation of the Hanged Man card was the second one that was mentioned here, about how there could be someone else in your life that is acting helpless, but they're really not helpless. They're just being manipulative. And yeah, so I've seen that interpretation show up before for the Hangman. So be on the lookout for that too. But generally, I mean, my experience has always been that I've understood the archetype and have recognized it showing up. For me personally, in terms of like where I'm at, like I'm the hanged man person, right? That I just need to, you know, relax and trust divine timing, live and let God, that kind of thing. So, okay. All right. So Anne, you said you've heard that other people have had problems with comments and it's not just me. Well, yeah, but I gotta think now it has something to do with my Ecamm, which is my streaming software. Because like I say, I get the comments and then they stop coming through. Because I tested this today because I didn't want this problem to happen again, because it's happened like the last several streams. It's really annoying because I can't really interact with you guys in the same way. But anyway, I got to work around for tonight. So, you know, it's not as ideal because I can't put the comments on the screen and it's kind of a hassle to have to go to another thing to find it, but whatever. Anyway, I'm done talking about not having comments. Just good to see you guys here. Thank you for joining me. So, just want to make sure I'm not missing any more down here. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's about it, guys. So, hey, make sure if you haven't already, go ahead and, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and like this video if you wouldn't mind tonight. And that'll give us a little bit more exposure. And, you know, if you can find that little bell there on your YouTube page, then you'll get notifications every time I go live. And that would be cool. So, yeah, so subscribe, please. And on Facebook, you know what to do there, right? And on both, hit that like button. Pretty please, I'd appreciate it. So guys, I think that's about it. You about ready to go? Let's see. I think I have some different music. We're going to open the circle here. Well, maybe not. I had some special music here. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? For ending things here. There we go. I wanted the music, but I didn't want that singer. Okay. Alright, so let's close the circle, guys. And, you know the drill, right? Make sure I got audio. It's a little loud. Okay. So we're going to release the circle. And we're going to start in the north. By the earth that is her body, thank you, north. By the waters of her living womb, thank you, west. By the fire of her bright spirit, thank you, south. And by the air that is her breath, thank you, east. As above, so below, the circle is open. So thank you guys again for joining me tonight, and thank you for hopping on so late and joining us. We really appreciate it. Don't forget, guys, be aware of the Sun-Neptune opposition energies. You know, pay attention. The Enchanted Universe is throwing us a bone with this beautiful Sun-Neptune opposition, so we got to be ready to catch it, which just means we need to be aware, right? And same thing goes for the Hanged Man card that we pulled. You know, think about that image. And, you know, look for it to show up either literally, like in finding something that looks like the Hangman, or, you know, just in terms of your experience moving through the next week. Okay? And then come back next week, same enchanted time, same enchanted channel, and share with us all of your experiences over the past week with the expression of the oracles. Okay? Good night, guys.